Hey, what's going on, everybody? All right, I did an Instagram Live. We really broke down the major and minor pentatonic and the major and minor blues as well. So really quickly, let's just get into that. We've got, if I start here for my minor pentatonic, that's A, so this would be my A minor pentatonic. And then for you guys that know, the major pentatonic is basically the same form and the same notes, but it would be the C major pentatonic, right? So it's where sort of your pinky is starting. That means if I were to play the A minor pentatonic, if I wanted to play the A major pentatonic, I would just pull my pinky down to the 5. And so that would basically be on 2. That note is still part of the scale. You can still use it, but this is sort of the start. This is the root note, A major pentatonic. And you do play those a little bit differently. If we kind of go up here, right, those like bends, into that. That's my root note, right? Root note, root note, root note. Okay. And then those bends, sort of like the notes either before or after. It doesn't translate when you bring that back to the major pentatonic. The reason is, in the major pentatonic, if I'm playing, that's not quite gonna work, and neither is that. And landing on this super hard isn't gonna work either. The reason is this is not the root note anymore. This is our root note. This is our 5th, for you guys that know the number system. And the root note, you certainly don't want to bend up, right? That's creating that's just the wrong note. If I, right, it's just not, it's not the way that it works. That's our root. We got to be careful with that one. So they are played both a little bit differently. Now, what is really cool is when we add the blues note in there. So if I have my minor pentatonic and I add my blues note, which is my 5/5, right? It's great. It gives me that's that super, right? That super bluesy sound. Now, if I take the same concept, if I add the same note in, not the same note value, it's not the flat 5 anymore, but for the major pentatonic now, if I started here, it's right, but that extra note, that blues note, is actually my minor 3rd. So this scale now has root natural 2nd, minor 3rd, and major 3rd. And that's what gives it that bluesy sound. It plays a little bit off that major and minor. That is definitely something heard. B.B. King does use that a lot. He kind of does a kind of stuff up here. And some other blues players, that it's real prominent in R&B singing and R&B, guitar playing, organ solo, whatever it is. If you sort of have like a really driving, yeah, that's kind of like what I'm hearing. Is where we sort of hear it a little bit more, and a lot of like ad libs, for R&B singers, old school like Motown and all that. They kind of add that note because that really is. That really definitely gives you that sort of minor over major sound. So that is generally the difference between the two. Now I have a backing track here. I'm going to do a normal minor blues, and first, and then I'm going to switch and I'm going to do a major blues, and you really hear the difference. So. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it nice and simple. always add a little bit extra for that 5. Okay, pretty typical. Really trying to hammer in the notes. So now if I switch this, so we kind of have that, you know, that kind of swung sound. I'm gonna switch it to the major. It's kind of getting a little bit more of the major sound, even though it's dominant blues. But now if I do this, right, definitely gives a different vibe to it. Now, if you are, one thing to just sort of pay attention to and sort of like wrap up this lesson a little bit is, if you are going down to this minor, and you'll hear it if you rewind the major example, major blues example that I just played. The one thing that gets a little weird is there's no 4, right, in that scale, in our major pentatonic scale, and we do have a 4 chord. But what we do have is we have the major third of A, right, of the key, so A blues. It has a major third, and it does have the minor third if you add that blues note in there. The problem with that major third, though, is it definitely conflicts with the D7, you know, the dominant when you go to that 4 chord. So, you know, I would just sort of watch out for that. The cool thing about the blues sometimes is that, you know, the key that you're playing in, the scale that you're using, sort of flies over that progression. You know, more so than some other genres. Although I mean, I do like playing over the changes for blues. You know, really hitting the certain notes for the 5 chord and the 4 chord. But just something to be aware of. And then that is, I mean, that's pretty much the whole lesson. Definitely gives you an array of things to work with. It's got a little bit of to me, a little bit of like a sweeter sound, you know, and this is definitely, you know, kind of has a little bit of a harder, like almost like a sour sound. I don't know why I'm relating it to taste, but so it is cool to drift between the two, or at least drift between the two for a 12 bar, like do an entire 12 bar that sort of hammers a little bit more on the minor, and then switch, you know, if you're kind of like the only lead instrument for the next 12 bar after the turnaround to come back and kind of pull it major. Definitely it gets a little bit refreshing, you know, if you're not just hammering out just one. But just, you know, we did an Instagram live and it went well, so I figured I'd just do one for YouTube.